Welcome to today's Explainer. I am incredibly excited to introduce you to a truly breathtaking science fiction concept from a story called The Hunger of the Leaf. Today, we are traveling to the brilliant, sun-drenched world of Neo-Calcutta. In this beautifully imagined universe, humanity has achieved what was once thought absolutely impossible. We've been genetically engineered to photosynthesize. We're going to explore the delicate line they walk between absolute biological perfection and the messy, beautiful reality of human nature. I want you to imagine something with me for a second. What if the sun was your primary source of food? Seriously, imagine waking up in the morning, stepping out on your balcony, and feeling your cellular energy banks completely fill up just by standing in the morning light. You bypass a heavy breakfast entirely. No cooking, no sluggish digestion, just pure, clean, solar energy flowing directly into your bloodstream. Sounds like an absolute dream, right? Let's look at exactly how this works for our protagonist, a biophysicist named Silas. To become a Veridian, which is the term for these modified humans, it takes way more than just having green skin. When Silas steps into the sun, he performs this subtle muscle contraction that unspools his dermal microfolds. Basically, his skin ripples into these microscopic velvet-like ridges, literally tripling his skin's surface area without changing his actual physical shape. This awakens millions of engineered phytosomes right beneath his epidermis. As they harvest the morning light, Silas simply breathes in and exhales pure oxygen. It's this beautifully elegant sensory experience shared by millions of citizens. Section 2. Breaking biological math. The illusion of perfection. Okay, let's dive into this because creating a human that runs on sunlight is far from simple. When geneticists first proposed human autotrophy, the scientific community literally laughed at them. Why? Well, the math was just brutal. You see, a warm-blooded mammal is basically a metabolic furnace, demanding around 1,500 to 2,000 kilocalories a day just to keep the brain firing and the organs running. But an adult human only has about 1.8 square meters of skin. If you packed that skin with standard plant chloroplasts, standing in the midday sun would only generate about 100 calories a day. That is the equivalent of a single apple. To survive on standard photosynthesis, you'd need leaves the size of a tennis court. So how do they actually break the math? They used 3 brilliant interventions. First, they threw out standard plant enzymes and engineered the CE-CH cycle. Actually, scratch that. It's a completely synthetic loop that fixes carbon 9 times faster than nature. Second, facultative ectothermy. Veridians can voluntarily drop their body temperature while basking in the sun, slashing their energy needs by 60%. And third, they accepted a delicate compromise, supplemental autotrophy. Humans still need nitrogen and iron to build muscles and DNA, so they still have to consume light mineral broths. Sunlight provides the sugar, but not the building blocks. But even with this compromise, the global payoff of this biological leap was absolutely staggering. By engineering humans to get just a portion of their energy from the sun, global agricultural demand plummeted by 70%. I mean, think about what that means. This single innovation ended the grain wars, allowed vast swaths of the Earth to rewild, and completely stabilized the planet's atmosphere. Section 3. The nitrogen conflict. Chasing the closed loop. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that not everyone is satisfied with the compromise. Enter Silas's younger colleague, Dr. Aris Thorne. For Aris, the fact that humans still need to ingest any food or minerals at all is an evolutionary flaw. It's this ugly tether to the mud that he is determined to eliminate entirely. So Aris has engineered a terrifyingly brilliant retrovirus called Phyto-N. In a normal human system, breaking down proteins creates toxic ammonia, which becomes urea, and is then flushed out by the kidneys as waste. It's a one-way street. But Aris's Phyto-N system creates a closed loop. It redirects that urea straight to the skin. There, sunlight activates a synthetic enzyme to split the urea apart, instantly recycling it into new amino acids and CO2. Human waste is perfectly converted back into human fuel. You might be wondering, why push for this extreme absolute autotrophy? The drivers here are massive geopolitical and economic pressures, specifically out in space. Orbital colonies and Martian pioneers are completely starved for mass. Shipping tons of food or wasting precious energy growing crops in biodomes is just incredibly inefficient. Aris argues that by completely decoupling humanity from the food chain, we can adapt the consumer to the light, rather than the light to the consumer. For him, a closed biological loop is the ultimate key to conquering the stars. Section 4. Systemic collapse. The danger of closed loops. However, tampering with millions of years of evolution carries profound risks. Silas's worst fears become a horrifying medical reality when a young student tries a bootleg version of Aris's upgrade called SoloGen. Now, the student lives in a dark basement with cheap LED lights. Because Aris's system requires intense light to activate the enzymes that split the urea, the lack of sunlight causes the whole system to stall. The result is dermal uremia. The urea builds up and physically crystallizes inside the skin's cells. Without the sun, the body's own skin literally turns into a deadly poison. The cascading domino effect in this dark shock scenario is intense. First, the light fails. Then, the toxic waste crystallizes. Because the kidneys were genetically downregulated, since they supposedly weren't needed anymore, they completely fail to handle the backup. On top of that, without massive water intake, the dormant light-harvesting cells dump all their energy as free radicals, literally scorching the patient's DNA from the inside out. A single point of failure brings the whole house of cards crashing down. And this brilliantly illustrates the core debate of the story. Eris views biology like a pristine software program. You tighten the code, close the loop, maximize efficiency. But Silas reminds us that our mammalian ancestors survived precisely because we are messy, open systems. We evolved multiple ways to take in energy and multiple ways to excrete waste. These biological redundancies aren't flaws at all. They are vital safety valves that keep us alive when the environment turns against us. Section 5. The Engine of Humanity. The Philosophy of Hunger. This scientific debate leads us to a profound philosophical climax at a massive solar-focusing tower called Heliostat Prime. Silas points out that the mammalian gut ecosystem is not just some inefficient calorie incinerator that we should just toss out. It is deeply, deeply tied to our brains. The gut produces 90% of the body's serotonin. Our microbiome regulates our moods, our immune system, and our thoughts. Bypassing the digestive tract doesn't just change our energy source, it fundamentally alters our emotions, our passions, and our very ability to love. Hunger is the engine of human history. It drove us to explore, to build, to create art, to seek out companionship. Think about it. Plants don't feel ambition or grief. If you completely remove the drive of hunger, you don't create a utopia. You simply turn humanity into a world of beautiful, blank, green statues, staring passively at the sky until their stars burn out. Faced with the horrific medical data of those closed-loop failures and this massive philosophical plea, humanity steps back from the brink of extreme efficiency. The orbital councils postpone Aris's retrovirus. Instead, they adopt the hybrid protocol. Even in the harsh reality of space, they cap human photosynthesis at 50%. They choose to retain a functioning digestive system and the act of eating, preserving it as both a crucial biological safety net and an essential social ritual. The story concludes with this beautifully vivid scene. Silas is sitting on his balcony at dusk with his daughter. Their skin has spent the day quietly soaking in the peace of the leaf. But as the sun sets, Silas eats a dark red cherry. With that burst of sweet, tart juice, his ancient, complex animal machinery wakes up. A cascade of neurotransmitters floods his brain with deep, primal satisfaction. They found the perfect balance, you see, harvesting the light of the stars while keeping the warm, driving hunger of the beast. Which leaves us with this final, incredibly provocative question to ponder. In our relentless pursuit of absolute efficiency, whether we're talking about biology, technology, or artificial intelligence, how much of our messy, beautiful humanity are we actually willing to engineer away? It's a powerful reminder that sometimes our perceived flaws and our deepest hungers are exactly what make us who we are.
Please like and subscribe.